tell us a little bit about the automation things, chat automation, how it works, why someone would use it, and so on.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that I used is ManyChat. Now, a lot of people are aware of it, and some people are just now discovering the power of DM automation with ManyChat.
Can you tell us a little bit about the tools that you actually work with and how you got started with those?
Well, this main tool that I use is ManyChat, but there are different automation programs out there. I happen to use ManyChat because it seemed to be one of the simplest and easiest ones to use.
The algorithm on Instagram, on whatever platform, is going to punish them for asking for people to comment a specific word and people only writing a comment that's only one word long. What would you say about that? What sort of clients do you normally work with, and who do you see this benefiting? Is it only people who sell things online? Other people could benefit from it also.
I would like to say almost anybody if you are some form of business or a creator, because in some way, shape, or form, you want to engage with your audience.
Welcome to the Instagram Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Here's how this show works. I sit down with people who are incredibly knowledgeable about social media. They might be strategists. They might be writing books about the platform. And I get them to come on the show and share their secrets in about 20 to 25 minutes. Let's be honest, you're busy. You have a lot of things going on. You don't want to listen to a 6-hour interview. You want to get right to the point, and I'm there with you. If you enjoy this kind of content, I have another show. It's called The Instagram Stories, and that's focused on social media news. In about 7 or 8 minutes, I catch you up on the latest news for Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads. The list keeps growing of platforms that I'm covering, but if you want regular, short digests of news, check out the Instagram Stories wherever you get podcasts. I'm going to give you a sample of what that show is like. You might have heard that Instagram is releasing a new video editing app called Edits. When is that coming out? What's it going to be able to do? What is it going to cost? Here's the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, to explain.
The question here is when is Edits going to launch and whether or not it's going to be free and or have paid features. Now, I appreciate your patience. We're getting really close. It's coming out in the next couple of weeks. We have been working with a number of creators over the last couple of weeks, getting their feedback and iterating on it and trying to make the experience as compelling as possible for a first simple edition. It will be free. I think over time we might have some paid features where we're going to need to cover costs of things like compute for big AI features. But in general, we want to create as many features that are free as possible, because the more people can create, the more they will create, the better Instagram will be, and the more we will all benefit. So coming soon. Appreciate your patience.
That's the kind of news I cover on the Instagram Stories. So check that out wherever you get podcasts. I'm very excited for today's episode because I'm going to be sitting down with Heston Roberts from Social Varsity. Heston, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Daniel.
Heston, for people who might not be familiar with you, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. I am Heston Roberts, the founder and president of Social Varsity, which is a social media agency that specializes in chat marketing and DM automation. And it's just something I absolutely love, taking care with other clients and showing them how to work smarter and not harder.
I love that. This is the first time that I have ever done an in-person interview, and that's for a number of reasons. It's hard to schedule. It's hard to get a person who is actually living locally. So I really appreciate that you were able to come down and that we could do this in person.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite, Daniel.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about the automation things, chat automation, how it works, why someone would use it, and so on.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that I use, the program specifically that I use, is ManyChat. Now, a lot of people are aware of it, and some people are just now discovering the power of DM automation with ManyChat. It's one of those things where you see on Instagram where they might say comment X and then I'll send you Y. We see it all over the place, whether it's on a reel or an IG story, and it's just such an easy way to get the link, whatever it is that we're promoting as creators and business owners, rather than telling them to go to the link in bio. You're forcing the user to go and leave your content and then go to somewhere else where you might lose out on engagement and views. Instead, you're meeting the customer where they are. And if they find that message on IG story or a reel or even during an IG live, they could just simply comment the word and get that message, whatever the link is that you put, in the DM. And the best thing about it, they could engage with it right then and there or whenever they want. It's always there waiting for them in the inbox.
I do like this concept, and it's something I've experimented with a little bit personally. Like you said, it is a great way to transition them from something that they're interested in, they saw your post on social media about, to actually digesting whether they have to buy an item or they want to buy an item, or you want them to listen to a podcast or whatever it is, to be able to get them off the social media platform onto another platform instead. Can you tell us a little bit about the tools that you actually work with and how you got started with those?
Well, this main tool that I use is ManyChat, but there are different automation programs out there. I happen to use ManyChat because it seemed to be one of the simplest and easiest ones to use. And we have to make sure that it is friendly to work with Meta. And when I say Meta, because I know a lot of people use ManyChat for Instagram, but it actually works for multiple platforms. Most of them being Meta applications like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp. It even works with Threads in a certain way that I tell people, not integrated directly, but there are ways that you could utilize it with a link. And now it also works on TikTok, which I can't wait to explore even more.
Okay, wait, you said a lot of things there. Can you explain I am very interested in this, and I know just enough about this topic to say I know like step one of how, ManyChat integration works, how you can send someone a link through a DM, but how does it work with Threads? Can you tell us a little bit?
They have a feature called Ref URL. Not a lot of people are aware of this. They've had it for probably about a few years now. And what it does is all of the automations that we've probably been using before with ManyChat, there's a certain feature that when you tap on the link, or I should say when you create in this actual automation, you go on Ref URL and it creates a URL, regular string, but you take that, copy and paste it, and you can place it anywhere. I like to place it on Threads. Right now, I have one of my pinned posts and even YouTube. So when people click on it, they click on the link and it actually opens up Instagram. It launches the DM. Now, if you're following me and you click that, the automation automatically starts. But if you're not following me, I just tell you which keyword to use and the DM is already open. So you comment that keyword and it starts the automation.
I get it. That actually makes a lot of sense. Since Threads doesn't have its own separate DM inbox, it makes sense that you would want to get them on Instagram. If they're not following you, or if you are not following each other, right, it'll go into that message request folder. So it's good that you give them the keyword of what exactly to start that conversation going. That's very interesting. Now, I think a lot of people might be concerned that this would potentially violate some kind of rules that Instagram has or Meta has as a whole, and they don't want to get their account flagged. So how does that work? Is that a concern? Is it valid?
Well, there are definitely rules that you want to follow. Meta is definitely trying to protect their user base. So they put certain rules that ManyChat and some of their other DM automation services to follow. And those respective services have to follow it to stay aligned with their official Meta business partner role. And if they don't, then they end up losing that and they lose access to the API that Meta provides for them. So with ManyChat, as an example, you have to follow certain things. So you can't do certain things such as to send them direct messages as soon as they follow. And that's one of the questions I get so often. So you cannot do that, unfortunately.
So you're saying as soon as someone starts to follow, you just immediately start sending them DMs of like suggestions of things to buy or links to check out.
Because that is spamming. Right. We got to be realistic. That is spamming for most people that are on Instagram, and they would have a bad experience. And Instagram doesn't want that. So there are certain things that you can and can't do. One of the big ones that you can't do or you shouldn't do is send the link initially in the first message.
Oh.
And we've realized now they don't really say it out loud, but ManyChat has started making small changes where they actually inform you to prompt them with a question first and then send the link. Now, this is only for if you comment on a post. This isn't if you DM them directly,
right.
whether in the IG story or in a DM. This is only for if you comment. And the reason for this is because, let's say, for example, the word is live. Well, if you comment the word live, you would get an automation, a message. But if you comment the word lively, the word live is in the word lively, and that person did not intend to actually get an automation, but because of the way the automation works, they would end up getting a message.
Right.
So because of this, they set on these certain rules where you have to prompt them, hey, did you mean to get this automation? What are you looking for this freebie? You would word it however you want, but it's a way for you to prompt the user first before you send them the actual promise.
That's good. So there's a little bit of an extra confirmation in there, like a two-step, I guess, would be how I would think about it. But that makes sense. You also mentioned about TikTok. Can you explain a little bit about how ManyChat and this DM automation works with TikTok? Because this is something I think a lot of people are getting more comfortable with as they build more of an audience on TikTok.
Yeah, well, let me first be very honest. I have not used it on TikTok myself yet because it was only open to a few individuals initially, and it's only available to certain countries. So most of the people I know that really want it, they're actually outside of the US. Now, I haven't played around with this just yet, but it kind of works the same way in regards to if you're on a post on TikTok, you would comment the message and get a link in your DMs. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with TikTok. I haven't used it in a couple of years, especially now what's going on, especially in the US.
It's quite a ride, yes.
Yeah, but it's pretty much the same process as it is on Instagram, but it's only available for a few countries at the moment.
Okay, interesting. One question that I think people might be concerned about is that if they tell people to comment freebie or comment whatever, that the algorithm on Instagram, on whatever platform, is going to punish them for asking for people to comment a specific word and people only writing a comment that's only one word long. What would you say about that?
Well, I wouldn't say that there's any concern about that. My biggest problem would be how many comments are you getting and how many are you replying to? Because that's one of the other issues that Instagram has fault with. They don't mind if you automate the DMs because as far as they're concerned, that's private, not the entire public is seeing it. But when it comes to the comment replies, which you are able to do, there's still a limit. Now, what that number is, I don't believe anybody knows. But if, let's just say, for example, you put out a post and it receives 1,000 comments, and you have a comment reply that simply says, "Thanks, I just sent your DM." But if you have 1,000 comments and you have a comment reply set, now you have 2,000 comments. And the algorithm looks at that and says, "This looks fishy. This doesn't look right. I'm going to actually action block this person because I think that they're using some form of spam." Are they or are they not? Technically, they are using automation and it is approved, but it's the comments that is causing a problem because you're getting so many comments in such a quick amount of time. It looks very fishy.
Interesting.
So what I've actually told some of my clients before, if you have like 50,000 followers or more, you're more likely to get a lot of comments at once. So just take that off. You can take it off. You can put it back on whenever you want. I say, Johnny, what I've noticed is when you're in the 50,000 follower range, you're more likely to get that high amount. So for whatever reason, take it off for that point. I'm sorry. Take it off for those purposes so that you don't get action blocked. I think at this point in time now where everybody comments a certain word, they know where to get the link.
Right.
They know it's going to be in the DM inbox.
Right. Yes. People are familiar enough with the concept. They might not know how it works.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about as well is the variety of people that might benefit from setting up this kind of automation. What sort of clients do you normally work with and who do you see this benefiting? Is it only people who sell things online or do you think maybe stores, brick and mortar, other people could benefit from it also?
I would like to say almost anybody if you are some form of business or a creator, because in some way, shape, or form, you want to engage with your audience. And that's one of the beautiful things about ManyChat is not only does it allow you to send links in the DMs, but you're able to invoke engagement. You know, when they see comment this X word, the person would comment and get a deliverable of what they want in the DM. But now you also have engagement. The algorithm looks in and says, hey, there's some form of relationship. And it's all these signals that the algorithm bases their decision on. So even when I comment a certain word on a post and I get that in the link, I'm now more available to see your content on the feed because the algorithm says there's some form of relationship. He's commented before on this post, so send him more posts from this same creator in the future. Whenever you comment on somebody's post, you ever realize that you start to see their content a lot more?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's exactly what the algorithm wants.
Yeah.
They figure that there's a relationship, so they're going to start sending you that. And if you're telling them to actually comment in the DMs, on an IG story, on a post, you're just going to start seeing a lot more of your reach increase because they're simply using one keyword on a post.
Are there any things that people are doing with ManyChat that you think people should not be doing? Like they were using it in a specific way, or maybe they're doing something that might be skirting the rules a little bit?
Yes, unfortunately, there's a big trend right now, and I'm very often on threads talking about some of these things. And one of the big ones is there's a big complaint that you can set ManyChat to work without a keyword. So if anybody comments anything on a post, that could trigger an automation.
Oh,
There is that feature.
I didn't even know that was possible. I see why that would be potentially a not great
Absolutely.
idea, but I didn't know that.
Because what they'll do is, I found some creators that I'm talking about, 6-figure creators, money and follower wise, and they would comment or put up a post that says, "Hey, this is me at Walt Disney World," and people say, "Oh, this is great. Oh, I'm going next week. You know, did you go on the teacup ride?" And that would trigger an automation, and you would get in your inbox them selling you whatever package or product that they have available. And people do not like that.
Yeah, it's very sneaky to
Yes.
You're kind of almost taking advantage, right? Because they didn't ask for that DM, they didn't comment the specific keyword. Very interesting. Since you brought up threads, and I'm glad you did, I have seen some of your conversations that are on there, and you've really been providing, I would say, a lot of support to people who are getting started with automation, getting started with ManyChat. Can you talk a little bit about how you've been using threads? Because I have only seen those, but also how you've been doing that, using threads to build relationships.
I love threads. It's a breath of fresh air in regards to the social media platforms lately, where I would say it's mostly positive. It's
Sure.
just it's funny that you asked me this today, because I actually posted something today, and it is getting a lot of heat. Do not talk about LeBron James. Do not talk about LeBron James negatively in any way, shape, or form.
People will jump on you. I'm just going to really quick. I posted recently on threads, and I don't know anything about dogs. I'm not a dog person. And I posted, people who walk your dogs without a leash, why do you do that? Like that, I didn't mean it in a malicious way. Just lately I've been seeing a lot of people walk their dogs without a leash. I have never gotten so much engagement. Some people were horribly angry. Some people were trying to explain it to me in small words. But to your point, is exactly right. When you say something that people feel quite strongly about, that's when they'll really give you a lot of engagement on your content, on your posts. So please continue. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No problem at all, because that's a good and a bad thing. If you're able to use that to start conversations, now it just really depends on what type of conversation are you willing to start, and where can it lead to. With ManyChat, I like to kind of, I go into the hashtag in the search area, and I go in and I make sure, if anybody has any questions, I try to jump in. I think if you go to threads right now in the search section for ManyChat, I'm probably on like the first 10 posts. I've replied to the majority of people.
You really have.
And it started some great conversation to the point where now people, when others have questions about ManyChat, now people mention me in the post before I even see it.
That's what you want.
Exactly.
You're the guy. Suddenly everyone knows, oh, Heston's the most knowledgeable. You have to ask him. That's really smart.
And I've been able to build a lot of relationships, whether just as clients or as friends, or even, just getting to know people, where I also have a weekly series as well that I might be able to get them on now as a guest, depending on what it is that they specialize in. So Threads has been a really interesting use of a platform for me to find new clients and just build new relationships with people.
I do want to talk about your weekly show. We'll come to that in a second. But do you mind talking about how you actually are finding these conversations on Threads? Because I think some people feel like, oh, just another platform. I don't have time for yet another. Some people were so tied into the way Twitter worked that they can't imagine starting all over from scratch and finding a new audience and finding new people to connect with. Some people recognize, hey, there's keyword search here. I understand that I can search, but you are consistently on top of conversations around automation. So how do you actually do that? What are the tools you use, or what is the setup that you have so that you can keep on top of these conversations?
Well, I'll tell you this. My schedule is a little crazy when it comes to Threads. I work out 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, good for you, man. That's awesome.
In between every set, I try to at least comment on at least 3 or 5 threads. So the majority of my activity is actually in the morning. So what happens is, what I've noticed is when I've been doing that, I'll leave threads alone maybe till around lunchtime or some other time of the day. But all of those threads that I've actually commented on, it continues to get engagement throughout the rest of the day. The other thing is I schedule my threads that I create myself. This is a game changer in regards to spending time on the actual app. At the same time, at the gym, I will schedule 5 threads to be posted every 4 hours. It's literally, if you go down my threads profile, every 4 hours, there's a new thread being posted. Actually, as we came here, started this podcast, I think I had one scheduled for 2:00.
Perfect. I love that. So when you schedule it, do you use the Threads scheduler or do you use a third-party tool?
I use the Threads scheduler on the phone, but I've actually been exploring with the desktop version of Threads, and I could get addicted to it because of all the panels that they have.
Yes.
It's really cool. It reminds me of one of the old Twitter platforms that they use.
TweetDeck?
TweetDeck.
I
That was
used
the
to love
name of
TweetDeck.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
back in the day. Absolutely.
I remember that one. It is very similar to that, but I would even say a little bit more advanced because it shows you some of the stats and analytics, and you're able to get certain other columns that you could customize. But Threads has been really great in regards to finding conversations. Like I said, other than this conversation that I had today, the majority of the conversations I've had have been very positive. I've been able to meet some great people. And the funny thing about it is a lot of the people I meet on Threads, I would have never met on Instagram, just due to the conversations that we are in. Some of the conversations I am in, other than ManyChat and social media, I've been able to talk to, I'm big into Marvel and Legos. I've been exploring that type of niche audience on Threads, but I wouldn't normally do that on Instagram because I'm more focused on business. So it's been interesting.
That is, I think fundamentally how the platforms work is different, right? Because you can search on Instagram, you can look for hashtag Marvel or Legos, but there's millions, if not billions of posts. But on Threads, you're liable to find an interesting conversation about those topics that you can jump into, just primarily because it's text-based, but also just the way hashtags and conversations are grouped is different on Threads. I'm glad you brought up the columns. For those of you who are watching at home, TweetDeck is from the early 2010s, and it was a app that would give you columns on Twitter, and you could search Twitter and then pin those columns. So you could have a column for Marvel, a column for Legos, or whatever other things you're interested in tracking. And you could even set up those columns based on keywords, but also location. So you could look for all the people who are writing posts who lived within a 5-mile radius of your home. And who knows what kind of people you could connect with and find. And so you can do something similar with Threads where you can create those columns, you can pin them, you can track conversations that way. And that is a great way to use the platform. I personally haven't done it on mobile, but I know you can do it on the desktop version when you use a web browser to track those conversations. It sounds like that's what you've been having good success with.
Yes, definitely. And just to kind of bring it back home, I've been using some of those ref URLs from ManyChat to actually bring people back to my Instagram, depending on if it's a promotion or some sort of campaign that I'm running. I've been able to bring them back. And depending on how I create the ManyChat automation, I might actually tell them, hey, you need to follow me on Instagram first to get the rest of this deliverable, whatever I'm presenting to them.
Very smart. Excellent. Tell us a little bit about your show. I know you do it, I think, weekly. You're live. Yeah. You always have guests. A lot of times the guests are people who I've been following for a long time. Maybe I've had them on the podcast. So I'm always excited to see who you're kind of connecting with. Tell us a little bit about your show.
Awesome. My show is called the Social Roundtable, and we've been running for, I want to say now 3 years. We first initially started on Instagram Live. Now, mind you, when we first started on Instagram Live, I was not a person that liked being in front of the camera. I was the guy behind the camera. Even my reels I was never in my reel. It was always graphical quotes, that type of post. But I challenged myself to a 30-day reels challenge, and after that, it didn't blow up my account or anything. But I got comfortable being in front of the camera.
It does take a little bit if you're not a camera person or you don't feel like you're very photogenic. It can be tough to kind of put yourself out there that way. So I give you a lot of credit for getting over that. I'll say fear, but getting over that hurdle to put yourself on camera like that.
Yeah, well, it definitely led now to my next venture in regards to IG Live, and I decided to start a series and kind of just meeting people on Instagram. I've met somebody, Megan, Social Media with Meg, for those that don't know, she's my co-host. Okay. And even my moderator, Angela, IG Live with Angela. We started this show 3 years ago, just to kind of get the conversation around social media going. Because at that point in time, there was so much changing. I mean, even today, every day there's something new going on with social media. It's so hard to keep up. You know, as you tell the news about IG all the time, and just in regards to the social media industry.
Yeah.
But I like it. It keeps me on my toes. There's always something to learn. What's a life without learning is something that I always say. So we started this conversation around the social roundtable where we invite 1 or 2 guests on IG Live. What I was able to do was take that IG Live, download it, edit it on my iPad. I am not a professional video editor by any means. And then actually upload it to YouTube, where it started to build a little audience on YouTube. But after the past few months in 2024, the end of the year, I've noticed Instagram seemed to forget about IG Live a little bit. They haven't been showing it a lot of love, unfortunately. Less features, nothing new. And I would say almost every episode I was on, I would get kicked out.
Oh.
And because I was the host of IG Live, everybody got kicked out. So I would end up having to start it over. It got frustrating. It got annoying. And I said, you know what? Let's try YouTube. So in 2025, we made the official move to YouTube. And we've been doing it every Monday since. Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week. And now we only do 1 guest because I'm still trying to get comfortable.
Of course.
On YouTube to IG Live, it's a big difference.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a big difference. But we've been really enjoying it. We've had some great guests coming on that's going to be talking more about just social media, content creation, digital marketing. I mean, if it's important to my audience, it's going to be important to us. And we want to make sure that we're asking the right questions with the right people.
That's great. I have been fortunate enough to be a guest when it was on Instagram back, I want to say it was 2022. I feel like IG Live was such a bigger deal when we couldn't go anywhere and we were locked down and it was so hard being isolated. But to your point, I haven't seen Instagram giving much love to lives at all. I haven't just seen people going live the way they used to. It's just, it lacks the attraction that I think it used to have. So I think on YouTube, there is so much more opportunity. Many people are interested in just what is going on right now in the world. And YouTube is a great platform for that. So I give you a lot of credit for doing that.
Thank you. I'm still getting used to it. Still finding my bearings around on YouTube because it is quite different than Instagram. But for those that are interested in going live, I think it's a really great thing to at least try out. You never know what you might find out that you discover. It might be a brand new love like I found streaming was for me. And I think it's really great for business owners and content creators because you're able to talk to your audience directly and they're able to talk to you in real time.
Let me just ask one question more. And I was actually thinking about how long I've been following you, but also the way your profile page is set up on Instagram is fantastic. Can you talk very briefly, if you feel comfortable, how you get your cover art to look also cohesive and amazing? What is your process? How do you do that all yourself?
Yeah, I do. Well, first off, thank you for even noticing that because not a lot of people notice because not a lot of people, just the way that Instagram is nowadays, not a lot of people go to different people's profiles all the time. They're so used to being stuck on the feed or in IG stories, you don't visit a lot of people's profiles. So the idea of aesthetics, the visual aesthetics of a profile is dead. It's been a trend now for so long, but I'm a creator at heart, visual creator, and I just can't do it. That's just me. So I had to kind of create something that kind of represented me with the colors. If you go down my profile, you notice that it's always 3 different colors, and that represents usually about a week, but it's the same colors after a pattern. And somebody asked me where I got the colors from. I actually got those colors from a bag of Skittles.
Did you take it and then you were like, oh, what's the hex code for that?
Yes. Yes.
I love that. I love it. So, but how do you actually create the artwork for each one? Do you use Canva?
I use a template. My friend would really not like the fact that I say this, but I don't use Canva.
Okay. I'm not a fan of it personally.
Only if my clients ask.
Right.
My clients, for whatever reason, they ask for something to be made in Canva. I would use it for that. But I used to be a web developer.
Okay.
And one of the programs that we use for creating web interfaces was one called Sketch. I believe it's a Mac-only application.
Okay.
You use it for web interfaces and app interfaces, but I've been using it for so long that when I transitioned to creating content specifically for social media, I just continued using it. And I've been able to kind of use that same color on different posts. Even if I've took it kind of far because even if you go to my YouTube, It's the same colors that I use on my YouTube banner. That's also on.
No, I don't think that's too, I think that's exactly right. There should be a cohesive brand to what you do. And so that makes sense. I think when you go to somebody's profile page and you can see that they have cover images, they have different artwork, and it shows you this person has really put time and energy into making a cohesive look. Is it necessary? No. But did they do it for a reason? Yes. What is that reason? I don't know. In your case, you want to look professional. You want to show that you actually care about your brand and how it comes across and how it looks. Me personally, I've tried to do this with artwork. Sometimes I kind of drop off and I'm just like, it's more important to get the post out there. Like no one cares about the aesthetic of your profile page as much as you do as the creator, right? So, but I have seen some that I think are great, and yours is definitely in that
Thank
list.
you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Heston, can you tell us what can we look forward to you creating in the near future, and how can we follow your journey?
Oh, I got a lot coming up. I can't wait to share with the audience, my community. And first off, for those that are watching, I can be found at social.varsity on Instagram and Threads as well. Like I said, I love Threads. But on YouTube, it's just Social Varsity, no dot in the middle. And what you can find for me in the future, actually this month, Daniel, I'm going to be launching a private community on Instagram. It's going to be an Instagram subscription where I am teaching specifically DM automation via ManyChat. Now, this isn't going to be what you can find generally on Google. I'm going to be sharing a lot of my own strategy. I'll be taking some of my own automations and breaking it down and sharing with my community that's there, and really giving you guys a full idea of what the potential of ManyChat is, because so many people right now, I think they only use about 10 to 15% of the potential of what ManyChat can do by sending links. But there's so much more that you can do, such as building a mailing list directly in the DMs without taking them off to another website to fill out a form. You can do that right in the DMs. And as we said, the algorithm loves that. I call the algorithm Uncle Al. And if Uncle Al enjoys more engagement, more conversation between myself and all of my other potential leads, keep it on Instagram. And I can still get that lead and subscribe them on to whatever emailing service that I use, such as MailChimp or ConvertKit. So I want to teach others those type of tricks that you could do with ManyChat and ways to integrate it with different third-party apps like Google Sheets and PayPal. You could do all of that, but you got to find, first off, people got to know these things. And unless you go to ManyChat and look at the blogs and stuff like that, they don't really tell you too much. So that's why I want to kind of step in for the industry and share a lot of that knowledge so people can take it to the next level.
That's fantastic. I'm going to link to all of the ways to find you online in the show notes so people can get there directly and be part of your journey and check out your community and course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for my interview with Heston. Make sure to check out the show notes for the links, everything we talked about, including how to follow Heston and the upcoming community that he's working on building. If you like this kind of content, please leave a review of the show. The best place to do that is on Apple Podcasts. You can find a link to get there directly in the show notes. You can also leave reviews in other places, but really Apple Podcasts is the best place because it helps other people to find the show and give it a chance. If you like this kind of content, please check out my other podcast, the Instagram Stories, for social media news wherever you get podcasts. Thanks so much for listening.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager, but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually, that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content, irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency. But I got a lot of spam, just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.
So, what's your favorite Marvel movie? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's a hard question.
I mean, what would you say though?
Okay, if I had to say my top three, off the top of my head, I'm thinking Infinity War, Black Panther. I gotta think about that third one.
Wow.
Might be Homecoming.
Okay.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay. I respect your choices, obviously. For me personally, being a Captain America fan, Winter Soldier and Civil War are both up there for me personally. Endgame, I mean, that scene with the hammer and, but I get it. Everyone has their own, kind of, did you grow up reading comics or were you just?
I learned how to read homegrown comics. You know what though? Now that you said that, I might have to add Civil War. I would replace Homecoming with Civil War.
Homecoming is great. Like, I don't mean to, the Spider-Man, all of them are, to me, they're right up there.
I
but
actually got to see that with the directors.
Oh, really? Where was that?
In New York. I won a contest to actually go see it a week or two early before it was launched.
Who? That's John Favreau and who was it?
The brothers.
The Russo brothers. Oh yeah.
Civil War.
Wow, that must have been really cool. What a great experience.
Amazing. That time, it was in New York, and it was about 2 weeks before the movie came out. And the biggest moment in that movie for us in New York, seeing it early, was when Captain America said Brooklyn. I was like, I'm done.
That must have been a great experience. I always try to keep my ear out for things like that. And when someone finds out about one, I'm like, oh, I'm so excited for you. But man, I wish I had known that was a possibility to go to.